Paul said, I don't roll with Tate. I'd love to knock his ass out. He said something like that. Yeah. But then he said, but what I do support is, free speech. But then his brother said something else. His brother said, the shit that Andrew Tate says will have a ripple effect much more dangerous than you can imagine because his narrative is truly hateful. His rhetoric has extreme negative energy in it, and it will affect impressionable young people that won't show for years from now, and it's dangerous. Now, this is what he said,
This
right?
is Logan Paul, you're saying?
But I want to say this before you comment on it. And then Junior supported you, Tucker supported you. I think the guys that like debate and comedians, people who appreciate humor, can understand that some of the stuff you're saying is funny as hell. You could be a comedian if you wanted to, but a person has to really pay attention to the comedy. But some can run with it, some cannot run with it. Yeah. When you hear the people that support and don't support you, how do you process that?
So first things first, I want to make it very, very clear that Logan Paul is absolutely and utterly a tool of the Matrix. He's a bought and sold individual with no soul. He doesn't stand up for anything, and he doesn't mean anything he says. He gets pieces of paper from Susan or whoever else telling him what he's allowed to say on his channel to retain
You believe that?
100%. Not only do I believe it, he's proved it himself. He will flip-flop on any issue. He can be bought and sold. The dude's a bitch. Logan Paul is a bitch, and I will say that here publicly. If anyone wants, I'll fight him for free. The guy's an idiot.
No money needed to fight Logan Paul.
Logan Paul doesn't believe in any of the things he says. Logan Paul is a man. If you ever were unfortunate enough to consume his content, I get sent clips of it all the time by people mocking him. As soon as something comes out, whether it's Harry Styles wearing a dress, whether it's Lil Nas twerking on the devil, whether it's this, he just sits there and goes, yeah, this is great. Yeah, this is great. He is a talking piece. He is the mouthpiece for the agenda. The people have come along, people who are trying to force a narrative, and they said, look, we need to have some degree of control over the exact demographic that Tate has control over. We're going to use Logan Paul and attempt to use him. And he sits there and just purports the bullshit points of view that the whole Hollywood establishment want him to purport. He doesn't believe in the things he said. He's told what to say. And because he was canceled before and it emotionally destroyed him, he sat on camera crying his eyes out like a little girl instead of being a man about it. He is so fearful of the mob and so scared of being canceled again that he's going to sit there and say anything he's told. He doesn't believe that shit. Before I was canceled, him and his boyfriend Mike did endless videos supporting me, laughing about me, saying how funny I was, tagging me on Instagram, inviting me places, etc. The second I'm canceled, they flip reverse it and shit themselves because they don't want to get canceled too. They are children. That's all they are. So Logan Paul's a bitch. That's the first thing about Logan Paul. And what's actually been interesting about this whole cancellation thing is it hasn't negatively affected me in any serious way because I've been saying on podcasts for years, I know a cancellation is coming. I knew it was coming. I knew that as I got more popular and more powerful to a degree that it was going to come. But what it has done is it has awoken the world to anyone who's perspicacious enough to pay attention to learn which individuals out here in the social media space actually have character and believe what they say, and which are completely bought and sold and are tools to the Matrix. The people who have decided to stand up for me and say, no, this is bullshit, are people who have, to some degree, credibility. This is people who say what they truly believe. But the people who were totally a fan and then post-cancellation shit themselves in 180 and to get a new piece of paper to talk from, that should tell out the public out there exactly who's controlled and whether these people have a genuine narrative that they're trying to report on the world. And it's interesting. Logan's one of them, and there's a few others. But I'm glad it happened just for that alone, because it's actually very clear. If you go to Logan Paul's last podcast where he's discussing me, all of his fans, and we'll talk about fans and viewers in a minute, because I think they're very different things. All of his fans, which he has none of, all of his viewers are sitting there insulting him, saying, bro, you're a fucking bitch. Like everyone, all of his own watchers are calling him names because it's so transparent and so obvious what he's doing.
Fans versus viewers.
Fans versus viewers, very different things. So he doesn't have any fans. He has viewers. And Susan and the Matrix and the people in charge of social media companies are like, okay, we've set our media machine. Let me ask you guys questions as professionals. Let's assume, as professionals, let's assume what I'm saying is correct. Let's assume that the social media companies, when they banned me, set their media machine to all release thousands of news articles at this.
That waiter is like, what did I just walk in on? This guy just said he got banned by every social media company. This guy's like, I just want to get through my shift.
Same time, trying to convince the world I'm an evil man. If they had that degree of power and influence, which I think we can all probably agree they do, don't you think they'd take their number one talking piece to the demographic, which is my fan, and give him a piece of paper and tell him what to say? Does that all make sense? Does that make sense to say, well, we told all the news to say Tate's bad, and all of his fans are 18 to 25-year-old men?
Yeah.
Who do we have on YouTube who obeys us like a little cuck who speaks to 18 to 25-year-old men? Logan Paul. Okay, Logan, here's your piece of paper. Do you want to get canceled again, Logan? No, you don't want to get canceled, do you? No, Mom.
You're saying a call like that was made?
100%. The dude's a bitch. He 180'd from a super fan to talking about my rhetoric being dangerous
But there's
in 24 hours.
There's a difference between you saying who you think he is versus you making the speculation that he got called by somebody to say, here's a narrative we want you to take, or else we'll silence you.
Well, Logan is not capable of independent thought. So if someone didn't give him the narrative, he didn't think it up himself. The dude's an empty vessel. He says what he is told to say. Somebody, somewhere, told Logan what to say and what stance to take. We can argue whether it was a social media company, whether it was his manager who was fearful, whether whatever. But somebody sat with Logan and said, look, Tate's getting a lot of smoke. You were cool with him. Your boyfriend Mike was cool with him. He's getting a lot of smoke right now. You're going to bitch out. And he sat there and said, yes, sir. Yes, I will. Because he has no character or no integrity.
Right.
If it was all the other way around, let's imagine he was getting canceled. And I truly believed it was unfair. I'd sit there on my own platform and say, this is bullshit. Because I'm not bought, sold, and owned. He's an owned individual. So he's always going to say what he is told to say. He's always going to sit on podcasts, speaking to the youth, promoting Harry Styles wearing a dress, saying that it's great that Lil Nas twerks on the devil in real time for our children to digest, and then say, I'm dangerous to the youth, because that's what he's been told to say. Logan Paul has absolutely no capability for independent thought, and he has no character as a man. That's who Logan Paul is.
If you enjoyed this video and you want...
Boom. God. Nailed it. Yeah, I mean, really, come on. It's hilarious watching these people come out against Andrew Tate. Just virtue signaling. I mean, it is funny though, like people make their judgment calls based on social outcry, like the mob. Like people don't have a code. People don't have like a system of beliefs anymore that no matter what they're going to stick to, and they don't have a code to where if someone says something that they don't agree with, they're going to stand tall in opposing that. They don't have it. You know why? Because because all the people we're talking about right now make their living off of the internet, off of social media, and they want to be accepted. Right? You don't get accepted by having a strong moral code. You will get outcast. But at the end of the day, it's like, which one do you value more? Autonomy, having your own independent thoughts, and standing firm on truths that you feel are right, or always adopting the thoughts, opinions, and views and morality of the mass at large, right? You sound like a bitch. And he nailed it. And obviously, a bitch, meaning someone who doesn't stand for something and is easily convinced to do something else, right? Not in another way, like a misogynistic way, talking about women or something like that. But it's like, if you don't have a code, you're not a man. So it's another way of just saying you're not tough. I don't know why I'm having to explain that or think I do, but it's true. And the problem with saying that, with Andrew saying that, is like, he's right. But he's so right, and he cuts right at the bullshit, that it comes off as offensive to Logan, right? Logan's going to hear that, and he's got a, he gets hurt very easily, it seems, when he's called out, right? And that's just what's going to happen. It's not like you're going to make Logan a friend by saying that, and he's not trying to, But like when people are wrong, and then you like expose them and make a fool out of them, it doesn't help them realize that they're wrong. So that's kind of like the setback to like always being right in that type of way. So it's just funny to watch, though.